What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. This is season 14, episode 15, and what I'm gonna say is Kyle and Sutton, stand up. Stand up, girl. I can't take it, ladies. I can't. Y'all acting like y'all the booty piece of the loaf like that girl said. Stand up. Let's get into this video. Sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy, just a little bit. And I just have a few things to talk to y'all about. So first up is Dorit and Sutton. So in my last The Drama video, I'll put the thumbnail on the screen. I talked about Dorit and Sutton, mainly this repost that Dorit put in her Insta story where it was a fan of hers who added her in his video, and it seems like he was getting coffee around where Sutton's store is, and he made a shady video. So let me play the video for you guys.
I just came from the gym and I'm walking to get my Verve coffee. Now, if you watched The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills the other night, Sutton was in her store. Sutton, now this is the store. Long shuttered up. So, it's not Sutton, it's nothing now. Maybe Sutton can ease up off of Dorit. I love Dorit.
Clearly shade, okay? But Sutton responded to this by saying, the thing is, I'm in the back now expanding Hunty. And I always feel like videos like this make the person who recorded them look like a dick, whether you're a regular fan or a content creator. I'm always like, if you don't have like court documents saying that like the building is being sold or it's foreclosed or they owe like back rent, going to this person's establishment when you don't really know what's going on makes you look kind of dumb to me. Like, if Sutton is telling the truth that she is expanding and we get to season 15, because I definitely think she'll be asked back, and she comes out with a bit like the building is bigger and better, then Dorit looks stupid for reposting this and she comes off like a hater. Granted, she don't owe Sutton nothing because they don't like each other, but I'm always like, girl, vet your sources before putting yourself out there like that. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. I just always feel like if you're going to make those types of videos, there needs to be a clear for sale or foreclosed sign on the building, because I don't like looking stupid, and that would have just been me. So talking about Dorit was on Watch What Happens Live the Tuesday night after the episode premiere, and she had some things to say. So she was asked about Sutton's comment, about the wallet comment, and I wanted to play her response.
Dorit, Morgan R. wants to know what was going through your mind when Sutton was trying to compare wallets.
Oh, I was just thinking, she's gross. You're so gross.
Dorit said Sutton was gross for that comment. I don't think it's the worst thing that has ever been said on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Girl, we've had people take their own lives on this show. Expose people for being in DV situations, accuse people for being on hard drugs, outed people who had their children by surrogacy but didn't want the world to know. People like we've said that people have used the death of their family members against people. You know, we accuse people of having Munchausen by proxy syndrome. Like, that's not the worst thing that has ever been said on this show. But I can understand Dorit being like, it was a gross comment because she having money troubles. Like, we're not going to act like all the things in the blogs that talked about Dorit being in foreclosure, PKO, and debtors isn't a real thing. So that's why that comment bothered her and she thinks it's gross. But moving, I guess, we're going to go back to Watch What Happens Live for a minute, but Tracy Tudor. So I didn't even know who this lady was because I don't watch Million Dollar Listing, but Tracy Tudor was on Million Dollar Listing LA or Los Angeles, and she was on the Jeff Lewis podcast. Well, I guess her and Dorit don't see eye to eye with each other, and she was asked about how she feels about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and how does she feel about Dorit. Well, she basically accused Dorit of not paying the same hairstylist that they used. So let me play that clip for you.
Housewives.
Yeah.
Who are you friends with?
Apparently don't know Dorit.
Also
Yeah,
well.
she likes to apparently stalk my Instagram and the people that I use.
Oh. I've never seen this Chris Dillon.
You have seen him because he's been on Beverly Hills.
Oh,
Yes.
He does Kathy's hair.
And he used to do Dorit.
Okay.
But that's over.
Why?
because she doesn't pay her bills.
I say it all the time. I don't like to read.
Get all quiet.
I don't get quiet. I don't like to read.
When Jeff had his party at BravoCon, I went on his page to send her the invite, and he was blocked.
Oh.
Yeah, that's where it started. I don't understand
Yeah.
why I got blocked. And then that turned into, I don't know,
This water
bad
is
blood.
great. This water is great. What is this water?
Oh, he's friends with
Brevy.
Dorit. Oh.
Look, I'm Switzerland.
Oh, does she
say
owe you
I'm
money
afraid.
too?
She said Dorit ain't paying. And also in the comments of this video was the actual hairstylist, Chris Dillon, as well as Patty Singer, who I think she used to have that show, that dating show about millionaires. Like, was it $1 Million Dating or something like that? I could be wrong, but I'll find a picture. But Tracy said this: I call it like I see it. Patty Singer said, so this is my hairstylist too. At Chris Dillon, Dorit needs to pay him. I would hate to see this end up in court. And then Dillon also said, after months of begging, finally paid in full. Thank you guys. At Tracy Tudor, at Jeff Lewis. Now, Jeff Lewis is a hater, and the one thing I'll give Jeff Lewis is he makes no qualms about not liking people. Like, he never tries to act like he cares about them, or he doesn't he never fakes it. And I can respect somebody like that who doesn't fake liking people. But he can come off as a really nasty individual and a hater. So I was like, ooh. So then jumping back to Watch What Happens Live, Dorit was asked about this by a viewer, and this is what she had to say.
On Instagram.
Yeah, it's hysterical.
Do you stalk Tracy Tudor on Instagram?
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Genuinely, wholeheartedly. There was a lot came out of left field. In particular, her talking about Chris Dillon, a makeup artist, a hairstylist rather, that I worked with this year for the first time in 8 years. And he sent an invoice overcharging me and charging me for a hotel that he had already used my card to pay for.
Okay.
And I think he was just trying to bully this invoice through, not realizing that it goes through a process, and my office flagged it. And when they had written back, this has already been paid, it was like that. And obviously he needed to resend an invoice. But Tracy going on Jeff Lewis, who is the poster child for inviting anyone that has her going on there and talking about something that she knows nothing about. It seems more like attention seeking than anything.
Okay.
Dorit's response. If you're wondering why the audio was going in and out, it's because Dorit was cussing and they were trying to bleep out her cuss words, but then they would end up bleeping out her whole entire a piece of what she was saying. But she basically is like, Tracy is crazy and full of it, and girl, ain't nobody stalking you. As well as it felt like the person was trying to do shady stuff by recharging my card and all of this stuff. Well, Tracy responded to that by saying this on Twitter: yeah, she's a liar. There's a credit card authorization form that she signed. Her office is an accountant that doesn't pay her bills. She owed him money for months. Then all of a sudden, today, after I spoke the truth, Chris was magically paid. Imagine that. At Bravo WWHL. And the hairstylist, Chris, actually came out and spoke his piece. Now, I'm not going to play that video because it's 8 minutes long. And what it boils down to, because he also had screenshots of the text message conversation him and Dorit were having. It seems like the hotel accidentally recharged Dorit's card. Pretty much. And it seems like it was more of the hotel's fault than his fault. And he had been begging Dorit for, I guess, almost 4 months to get paid. And she was just giving him the runaround. But it does feel like it was, what it boiled down to was totally a miscommunication on their front. I am glad he got paid, but I also feel like this situation might slow down business for him, because a lot of people were feeling like this whole situation was unprofessional. But because it's Tracy wouldn't be able to say this information if he wouldn't have told her. But I guess he decided he no longer wants to work with Dorit, so it's it's whatever. But at least the man got paid, because he did you a service, you should pay it back. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. What's also funny is that Crystal hopped into the chat and reposted a picture of her and Tracy saying, I love her. And then another person reposted a video on Twitter that I saw earlier today that was of Tracy being on Watch What Happens Live, and it was a viewer's question that asked, would Tracy be on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? And she was like, yeah, because it makes sense. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles. I have the wealth. Like, I'll definitely do the show. So some people feel like this is Tracy's way of trying to get on the show because she's beefing, like trying to have a beef with Dorit, because it was also reported by TMZ the other day that $1 million listing Los Angeles after 15 seasons is going on pause. And y'all know, in the Bravo world, sometimes putting something on pause means that they're either going to reboot the cast and bring in a new cast, or the show is actually canceled. So I don't know. The funny thing is, like, you can definitely tell that Dorit and Tracy do have the same style, and they probably do feed off of each other. I don't know if Tracy would be interesting for the show because I've never seen $1 Million listing Los Angeles, but I did think the back and forth was kind of funny to me. So the last thing is Miss Anita. So y'all know Anita kind of got some heat. Really not some heat. People were trying to play Anita like she's not a global sensation, okay? But she's a singer. And she got, I think she has like a Hulu documentary coming out about her life, or a Disney one, but I think it's Hulu, maybe Netflix. It's so many streaming services, but I remember a trailer about her documentary. But basically, she was on Watch What Happens Live last night, and she was asked about her picture that she took with Mauricio. And what it boils down to is that her friends know Mauricio, or like they know Paris Hilton because she's friends with Paris Hilton, so that's how they know Mauricio. And basically she was like, there's nothing going on between her and Mauricio. We decided to be crazy and wrap towels around our bodies and go snowboarding, and he was our photographer. But I just thought it was crazy that them people try to play Anita. Because Boys Don't Cry, I play it at least once a week. Who says boys don't cry? That's my song. But either way, let's get into this review episode. Y'all know I'm long-winded, but I'm going to try my best not to be, because nothing really happened in this episode. So it opens up and we have two conversations. Garcelle going to Sutton's house, and Dorit and Bose going to Erica's house. So we see Dorit and Bose go to Erica's house. Dorit gets there first. She's talking about how lovely the new decorations is. And she also talks about how Erica seems to have this new energy. Bose gets there and she has these huge Teflon bags full of goodies for the ladies. We find out at Sutton's fashion show, Bose lets the ladies know that they're going to St. Lucia for, their cash trip. So everyone's excited, and the bags are really cute. They come in different colors. And so as Dorit is looking at the swimsuits, Bose says, we're going to have a real fashion show. And they're like, ooh, girl. And she's like, oh, I didn't mean it that way. Girl, yeah, you did. You don't like Sutton. Bose does not like Sutton. She don't. She really doesn't. She shades her in the confessional all the time. And if you look at the after show, her energy towards anything that refers to Sutton, Bose don't see it for Sutton. And I've seen interviews of her talking about Sutton, and she just don't see it. I guess their personalities just don't mesh with each other. So we get over to Garcelle and Sutton at Sutton's house, and we find out that the Daily Mail said Kathy was fashion roadkill for the chaos that she caused at Sutton's fashion show. So Kathy's like, oh my God, I'm so like, oh my gosh. And y'all, told y'all, I do not believe that Kathy, like space cadet, I don't know where I am type energy. I feel like that lady is very calculated. And after watching that Paris Hilton documentary, her and her husband ain't to be trusted. Okay. So Garcelle ends up telling, what's her name, Sutton, girl, I went and had dinner with Dorit, and get this, I asked her, like, girl, what's your issue with Sutton? And Dorit tried to act like it was some one-sided beef, but I was like, it's not one-sided. Like, what's the beef? So we get back over to Erica and Erica, Bose, and Dorit. And Dorit is talking about the same sit down where she was like, Garcelle was like, she doesn't like that you talk about her drinking. That's something that she doesn't joke about. And I'm like, well, Garcelle, I was so kind towards her, so welcoming, like you weren't there, you don't understand. And I'm like, girl, you're a liar. That's what you are. You're a liar, because you were upstairs rummaging through your jewelry box trying to find some necklace. You had that lady sitting down in the den area for like 35, 40 minutes or something like that. Then when you got downstairs, when you saw Kyle, you made a beeline for her. And then your mom acknowledges Sutton's presence. You wait a minute, then see her. And then you get weird about that whole Kelly bag. You also were in your confessional being like, ugh, these are not the two people I really want to see right about now. So your energy energy wasn't welcoming. It wasn't happy. It was very off-putting. And she peeped that. Even though Sutton didn't want to be there, she could still feel like you were off, like your vibe was off. So then Erica all of a sudden chimes in talking about, what about me? What about the way they did me? So Bose is like, oh, what do you mean? So Erica's like, Garcelle and Sutton cut me no breaks when I was going through those lawsuits. They mentioned my medication and my pills. And I said, skirt, stop right there, ma'am. You were telling us that you were mixing medication and pills, and the way you were behaving, you were white girl wasted on that yacht boat. Mercer's in the purse, like you was tripping. And you even said that you were tripping. You were saying that you were waking up and you were finding random Taco Bell stuff around, wrappers and stuff around your house, and you don't remember getting in the car and going to get Taco Bell or ordering it. So what are you talking about, Erica? And on top of that, when Garcelle said you need to get your medicine to drink ratio together, it was after you cussed out her son. The same Erica Jane who was about to throw Eileen in the Pacific Ocean when she mentioned your adult 20-something-year-old son when y'all were in Japan, girl, missed me with that because you cussed out that lady's minor son. On top of that, a lot of people still look at Garcelle sideways because they thought she should have cussed you out to no end for the way that you talked to her child. So for you to still be harboring this type of energy feels like you're reaching. It feels like you haven't delivered us anything this entire season other than this tired storyline about your home renovation. And now the season is winding down. You want an issue because I still have an issue with Sutton. Sutton, the only person out of this entire cast that we saw on camera offer you money. Girl, what? Like, offer you a loan. She offered you lawyer help. She got you a really nice gift bag. I don't think Sutton was wrong for asking you, girl. In the paper, they're saying that you got $20 million in your LLC, and that's victims' money. Like, is that true? Like, what's going on with that? And you're acting like people were not going to ask you about a global case. Like, they were talking about that stuff overseas. I remember seeing a clip of it on the Indian news. Somebody was talking about it on Twitter. Talking about they in India talking about this. Like, what are you talking about, Erica? Everyone had a right to ask you what was going on because at the end of the day, your husband stole from people that deserve that money. Like, what are we talking about? And you showed no compassion, no sympathy other than to yourself. And granted, I understand you felt like, girl, my back is up against the wall. But if you would have just led with a little bit of kindness, I bet you people would have gave you grace. I bet you they would. I've always said if Erica was smart and she's supposed to be this entertainer, she should have thrown on a benefit concert. Got a bunch of local gay and straight artists because at the time, because I don't think the white gays still fool with Erica, especially after the Housewife and the Hustler and Willem coming out talking about how badly she did that designer. And then I watched it. She did that man foul. Okay, that man was in jail and his family members passed away and he didn't do nothing wrong. So I just feel like at the time when she was still in people's good graces, she should have did a benefit concert, thrown on a huge concert, invited local artists, like I said, gay or straight, and then be like, this money goes to the victims. But you did none of that. You were holding on so tightly to them diamond earrings that we knew was bought by victim money. Like, everybody was like, girl, all his money was basically from them people. And you thought people were supposed to be compassionate towards you? You're reaching. I feel like she's reaching. So Erica's like, all of a sudden doesn't like what people are saying about her and she wants sympathy. I said, get over it, Erica. So then they talk about Garcelle defending Sutton and Doris saying, she has rose-colored glasses when it comes to Sutton. So then we go back to Sutton and Garcelle, and, she basically says, I told her, you can joke about your drinking, but she can't. And Sutton is like, I don't joke about my drinking, so I don't know where that's coming from. And then Garcelle was like, and get this, I told her if you gave her a Kelly bag, would she be over everything? And she was like, oh, yeah, everything would change. And Sutton is like, okay, so back over to Doris and Bose and Erica's conversation. Bose is like, see, that's the hypocrisy. I'm not understanding. Y'all are chastising me for defending Dorit, but yeah, you're over there kikiing with your mouthpiece and all of this stuff. And then Erica's like, she's been doing it for years. And then they jump up and down because Dorit lets it be known that they got the best villa and the three of them are rooming together. And this is the thing I don't like about Bose. I think she's great for this show. I like what she represents with bringing all these black businesses to TV and marketing them and things of that nature. But I don't like how she tries to pride herself on being somebody that's very like analytical. She's very observant and she knows, I see everything, and that's why I'm making my assessment. But yes, your assessment is one-sided. To me, that means your opinion is invalid. Like, you have only been here for like 20 minutes and you have yet to like actually do what Garcelle did, which is go to Dorit and be like, girl, so what's your issue with Sutton? Like, what's the beef? I would have loved to see a scene with Bose going to Sutton and being like, girl, what's your issue with Dorit? Like, what's the history behind this? But you haven't done that. And then you expect people not to have an issue with the way that you speak up for Dorit. And I don't have a problem with her and Dorit and Erica being friends. But speaking up when you don't even know the history of what has been transpiring between them, it would make me tell you to shut up. Like, I'm like, if I was in this group and if I was saying, I would be so flippant towards Bose. I'd be like, girl, shut the fuck up. You only been here for like 2 minutes. You don't even know how these people have disrespected me. You weren't here when Fox Force 5 was a thing. And I'm not even saying Sutton is innocent, because Sutton has definitely put her foot in her mouth multiple times, okay? But to act like she's always been the aggressor, of always been the problem, is a lie. Like, sometimes it has been equal combat. Other times it has been them picking on that lady. When Lisa Rinna was lashing out because her mama died and she was just going at Sutton and nobody ever checked Lisa Rinna for real, other than Garcelle. And I think Kyle might have said something and Crystal said something, maybe. What were they supposed to do? Just let this lady cuss this girl out and she did nothing? Even with the whole lip-licking Diana situation, y'all are okay when people do things to Sutton, but when Sutton has a reaction, it's a problem. And again, I'm not saying Sutton is innocent, because she's not, because she has done things. But to act like she's volatile, she's the one doing it. No, y'all do things to that lady too. To Sutton and Garcelle. And Garcelle and Sutton are talking about Kyle and Dorit. It seems like they are back on good terms. They flash back to the fashion show and they're laughing and giggling. And Sutton thinks it's so weird that they cool now all of a sudden. And Garcelle, when I tell you Garcelle was naming them in her confessional, like she was calling things. She says Kyle and Dorit being out on the outs or having beef is good for Sutton and Kyle's relationship, because that means that they can get closer. Them being back together means that they are no longer going to have that relationship. And I think Sutton ultimately wants to have a relationship with Kyle, And so she was like, yeah, it's just kind of weird. So then they get back to their conversation where they talk about Morgan and Mauricio and Kyle and the picture of him kissing the girl, and Garcelle being like, I just think it's weird that we can talk about Mauricio, but we can't talk about Morgan, and you had that lady all in our faces. And she also says that her and Dorit talked about it, and she was just like, it definitely feels like she went to that concert to pick at Mauricio. And Dorit is like, yeah, that's kind of how it gives the same vibe to make Mauricio feel some type of way. So then Sutton ends up saying, I want to respect her privacy. And so Garcelle is looking at her like, Sutton may say she don't bow down to Kyle, but she definitely bows down to her. And she was just like, so then Sutton says, well, maybe if you want to introduce the topic, just ask her, like, it seems like you had a good week. We saw that, you went out to a concert. Like, let her give you that information instead of us prying and trying to get that information. And so Garcelle's like, oh, you want her to volunteer the information? And she's like, yeah. But in her confessional, Garcelle is just like, Sutton is scared, and I can't deal with it. I can't deal with her being scared of Kyle. So, because Sutton ends up saying she don't want Kyle to be angry with her. And I'm just like, who is Kyle? Like, who is Kyle? So the next thing we get is of Bose going over to Kyle's house, and we see her give her Teflon bag, and they sit down, and Kyle ends up saying, I really appreciate you reaching out to me. The outfit that Bose has on looks really good on her. I don't even mind her hair in this scene, because I can't do the thick wigs, but it looks really nice on her in this scene. So she was just like, when I saw the picture, Bose is like, when I saw that picture, girl, I was about to get in my car and roll up on here, and when I see my friends in danger, we nuck if you buck, And so Kyle laughs at it. Bose says, last time her and Kyle talked, Kyle basically told her at Dorit's event that like she felt like I didn't give her a chance because I got cool with Dorit. She felt like you're judging me based off of how Dorit and I are having this issue in our friendship. So like your assessment of me, I don't buy it. And that's the issue with Bose. Like, you're saying that you're doing, like, you're only seeing things as you see them, but that's not the case. We have yet to see you take the time. Like, you are doing with Kyle, do that with Sutton, or do that with Garcelle, other than Garcelle coming to check up on you after getting your fibroid surgery done, So, she was just like, I just don't know what to do with myself at this point. That's what Kyle is saying. She starts to get emotional and she was like, man, I don't want to cry, but I just want to be able to say these things without getting emotional. And what we find out is that Kyle is just taken aback that now Mauricio is playing the same game that she played last season and being public with the women that he's dating. So Bose ends up telling a story about her husband, her late husband. He passed away when Lael was 4 years old. And she was like, Peter really loved Lael, like they just had like a really good bond. And she said at the time when he got sick, we were separated. And she was like, I wanted to like file for divorce, but I also didn't want to be perceived as the bad guy. So I was like dragging my feet. And I think that was her way of telling Kyle, Mauricio wants a divorce, but he doesn't want to be the bad guy. He wants you to do it instead of him filing the paperwork. But she ends up saying that one day she went over to his house dropping off Lael and there was a woman there and she was a little taken back. And then when he was diagnosed and said that he only had like 2 weeks to live, she walks into the hospital and the lady is like rubbing on his head, giving him affection, kissing on him because the man on his deathbed. And she like, oh, get this bitch out of here. That's my husband. And she said, girl, I lost it. So Bose is like, I told them she got to go. She got to leave. And Bose basically says it's hard to move on from somebody, even though you want to, but it makes it even harder and more real when you see it in your face. And so she was just like, I couldn't handle it. So she was like, it is what it is, And Kyle said that picture changed everything. And I'm just kind of like, didn't last season change everything? Because we saw Mauricio trying to do things with you. Like, hey, can we do this? And you were like, nah, you actually told him he had no right to question you or what you do or anything of that nature. And now that he's doing it, it's an issue. And I wonder if it's because of those rumors. And maybe they are true that Mauricio has always been in them streets in the LA and in Beverly Hills, but he was very respectful in the sense of like nothing ever came out about it. And I guess Kyle now, like seeing it in her face is what's really throwing her off. It's like, oh my God, like maybe it makes all those times that she knew he was cheating real because now she has a face to put to what's been happening. But it's still hard to like have sympathy for her because she just won't outright say what he did. She won't say like, oh, he cheated, or oh, he stole money, or he did this, or he did that, or he's never really been there for me. Because the behavior you exhibited last season was so like, it was off-putting because it's like, yeah, you want to be separated and move on, and you have Morgan. Why can't he be separated and move on and date whoever he wants to date? Like, it's really hard. And it sucks to see Kyle struggling because I got what she said when she was like, this is not what my life was supposed to be. Like, we were supposed to like make it to the end of times, and that's not the case. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you have certain expectations for your life and they don't work out. And you have to grieve those expectations, and then you actually grieve the actual situation. But I just feel like it's hard for people to have sympathy for Kyle with the way that she was behaving with Morgan. Like, you were almost kissing her in a music video. Y'all getting matching tattoos. And maybe y'all have never been like intimate in the sense of like physically like kissing or smushing purses together, but getting like having someone tattoo your body, like being in their music video as their love interest, probably sharing really personal things with each other is a sign of intimacy. Like, it could be emotional intimacy for somebody you emotionally cheated. I don't know. So Kyle basically is like, she got to move on. We then get this scene of PK and Dorit having dinner together. And it was kind of awkward because for me, Dorit says all these negative things about PK, but yet when he gets into the building, they're very cordial. She letting that man kiss her on her cheek, but mind you, he ain't seen his kids in how long? and you say he was a bad parent, ain't no bad dad gonna be kissing on this body, you know? So she's like, it's a little weird, because he's like, how you been? She was like, it's a little weird, And he's like, life is a little weird, isn't it? And so he was just like, she says, thankfully you leaned in and gave me a kiss. And so he was like, well, should I giving you a high five or something? Like, what you mean by that? And she's just like, it's kind of different. And so we see this new confessional with Dorit. I like it, but I feel like we've seen it before when she had the Chanel earrings and stuff. So it's kind of like, it's all right. Chanel. But I think the outfit is cute. So we flash back to like the beginning of the season where PK and Dorit had that one conversation where he basically, was shade in there and was like, we not going to be talking every day. Even though you want to talk all the time, we not going to be doing that. Then to when she had to sit down with Bose and she was like, her and PK had a 4-hour therapy session and he left the therapy session saying, and this is why I want a divorce from you, to when they were at Kathy Hilton's dinner and Kathy was like, well, you would say he was a good father, wouldn't you? And she was like, no, I wouldn't say that. So they sit down and she's like, I feel like we're kind of okay. Like I think I'm understanding where we're going in this relationship. She was like, my eyes are like wide open now for the first time. And so PK is just kind of like, before I misinterpret that, like, what do you mean by my eyes are like your eyes are open right now? Like, what does that mean? And she's just like, no, my eyes are open as to what this situation is. So then he goes on and saying like, the first things to start is where did we go wrong? And he was like, I think it's when we start speaking to each other the way that we do. Like the issues in our marriage is like, you like to control issues and I don't like all of that. And he was just kind of like, you like to dictate everything. And the first thing that really kind of like, well, since we separated, that really bothered me is you trying to tell me where I was going to live. Like, I didn't want you to be a part of that. Like, I didn't want you to know, like, tell me where I need to live, where I need to do. And she was like, well, you don't think I should be a part of that? And he was like, no. She was like, you don't think we should have a conversation? He was like, no, like, I don't want a conversation because that's our issues. We always having conversations and not getting anywhere. So they then start talking about the email, and PK is like, do you really want to talk about what's really in that email? Because it seems like you bypass how I talked about how you made me feel. And what I was saying is, if we do go through this divorce, this is what life is going to look like. So she's kind of looking at him, kind of taken aback by what he's saying. And he's like, I also told you it's time for you to lawyer up in that email. And so Dorit was like, I feel like you're 100 steps ahead of me. And she's like, but do you want a divorce? And I'm like, you said when you talked to Bose, you said he yelled at you and this is why I want a divorce. Whether he meant it in anger or not, I would have took that as like, yeah, he want a divorce. It's time for me to peace up. Let me get out of here. Like it's time to go. He doesn't even really answer the question other than saying like, I don't know. He says, I believe that what we're missing is our friendship. And, you're one of my best mates. You're the mother of my kids. Like, we need to have a good mothers of my kids. We need to have a good relationship. And all this conversation told me is that Dorit is being stupid, and I don't know how much of this I believe anymore. Because at first I was like, this feels real, but then I was like, I don't know. And like I keep going back and forth because I feel like Dorit is starting to contradict herself, because you said that man yelled, this is why I want a divorce from you. Now you're asking him, like, do you want a divorce? And it's like, and then she's saying PK is the one that's in control. No, he's not. If you don't want to be married to this man, go get them papers. But it feels like Dorit still wants to be married to him. But I don't understand why you would want to be married to a man that you said is not a good father, that you said is a monster, and all of this stuff. And I also don't know if PK wants to be married to Dorit because he's no longer an alcoholic. Well, I mean, he's always going to be alcoholic, but he's now sober. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if drinking was what was keeping him in the relationship. I don't know. Because there's one thing that I do notice about people who do have substance abuse issues. For some people, it's a control thing, like for people that have EDs. Like, you can't control anything else in your life, but you can control how much you drink and how much you intake of food. So I wonder if now that he's sober, he realizes that, like, being with Dorit in her ways is what really turned him off. I don't really know. I just feel like there's so much about this relationship that doesn't really make sense to me, because even on Watch What Happens Live, Dorit was like, she hasn't really spoken to PK. And in this conversation, PK ends up saying, like, maybe in 6 months we could come back and see if this is what we want. But I also feel like if you yelled at her saying, this is why I want a divorce from you, why haven't you gone down to the courthouse? And I think they're beyond that whole 10-year mark. I think they are at that 10-year mark. So maybe he's trying to slow her down so they don't get the divorce. Either way, I'm just like, I don't care anymore because I feel like this is not, I feel like some of this is not believable. And I don't want to believe that they would play this type of game again, like everyone feels about that robbery. But I just feel like there's something about this that just feels like maybe y'all did this for a storyline and then it became real for both of you. Like some people feel like Kyle and Mauricio have either been separated for years and now they're letting the storyline play out, or other people feel like it was a storyline that they concocted that got real because they both actually enjoyed not being around each other. But I don't know at this point. They end up leaving the conversation, and that's when Dorit ends up saying that she's not the one in control. PK is at this point, and she's like at his mercy. Is of Lael, Keely, and Bose. And I'm gonna be honest, I hope this is a fake storyline because Bose discredits herself in this relationship with this storyline as well, because you're supposed to be this boss, this like giant in the corporate world, but yet you can't ask sensible questions like your daughter did. So we see him go over to her house and they're having dinner together, and so Lael, I mean, as cute as she want to be, start asking the right questions. So she's like, so when y'all gonna get together? When are we getting married? How many kids are we having? Do you think we gonna move to San Diego? You moving here? Like, what did you like? I was like, come on, girl. She asking the questions that need to be answered, okay? And Bose is in her confessional being like, I'm so proud of her. These are questions that I've been hesitant to ask, but yet you're agreeing to have a baby with this man. Again, if she wants to have a baby, I just believe Bose should just save her money, get a surrogate that she believes is going to, treat her body right while the baby's in there, get you a sperm donor and call it a day. Or get Keely to be your sperm donor and y'all set up a contract and call it a day. But this storyline irritates me because I just feel like, girl, it's not making sense, because I guess it's like the personality we see when you're with the ladies, where you're so direct and you're like, you confront things head on. I don't understand why you can't do this in this relationship. And I don't get how you see forever with this man. And then people found out that Keely got an IMBD. So now people talking about, is this like a TJ and Stacey situation? And Bose, if it is, that's going to look so bad on you the same way it looked bad on Stacey, because you did not need this storyline with this man. You just didn't. You didn't. But they have a nice conversation and we move on from them. So we finally see Mauricio go to Kyle's house. Oh, and mind you, before I leave this scene, Bose ends up saying this is the first man that she's ever introduced to her daughter. And I said, girl, and this is what you picked? I mean, Keely doesn't seem like a bad guy. He doesn't, but he gives grifter tease. And it just, something about their relationship just doesn't seem believable. It seems put on. It doesn't seem real. That's the problem. I'm starting to feel like maybe this was like the same thing with TJ and Stacey. They know each other to a certain extent. Bose was getting on this show. She didn't really want to showcase too much of her real life. And she was like, you gonna be on this show, I'm gonna be on this show, and we gonna make it do what it do. I don't know. I just feel like something about this relationship just doesn't give authentic. And I don't know. Because I mean, I don't get having a baby with somebody that does not meet the requirements for you to have a child. You said you wanted to be married, and then he didn't even answer the married question when Lael asked him. He was like, oh, I forgot the question. And it's like, if you just want a baby, just have a baby. You got the money. It seems like you have the village around you that's going to be there. I don't get it, bro. I just don't get it. So we finally see Kyle and Mauricio have a conversation. This scene was so awkward. The way that he was shuffling in that kitchen, you could tell that he was like, I don't really want to have a conversation about this. Let me get these cookies and all of this stuff. He talks about how he didn't party too much on, out of the 25-day trip. He was like, oh, I only partied for like 5 days. But then we see at the caviar and caftan party that Faye Resnick was like, Mauricio and PK trying to, get my husband into going with them on their little vacation, trying to get him to be single. Get your man, Kyle. and Dorit, get your man. And so it's awkward. She wants to talk about the photo that's been shopped around. And it gets so crazy to where he's like stirring his tea and it's getting louder. And I said, this is awkward. So he basically says, I didn't want to hurt you or the girls. Like, I never would want to do that. And Kyle's like, yeah, I knew that's not how you are. I mean, I don't think you knew that the picture was there, but they were taking pictures, but I think she knew. And I feel like Mauricio had to stop himself from being like, she wouldn't do nothing like that, because there was like a hesitation in his breath, like, no. And then he got quiet because I think he remembered, like, I'm that's going to make this situation worse. And so she's just like, this just changes everything. Like it's becoming more real that we are never really getting back together. And I don't know how to take that. So then she starts crying and Mauricio hugs her again. And I'm just like, I don't think that Mauricio would do Kyle dirty. I don't. In their divorce, I feel like he would be fair to a certain extent, but I also feel like Kyle, at this point, the writing's on the wall. Go get you an attorney and get ready. And if y'all are in such a good place, I feel like it's better to have an attorney and sit down and talk about what you feel is fair now, you know what I'm saying? Versus, y'all being at odds. Because if you're both in a good place, that means y'all probably would be more willing to like compromise on things that would help each other out. I don't know, but I'm tired of her crying about this man. And I'm also tired of her acting like she can't go live her life. Like, Mauricio and you are the same age. I think he's in his late 50s. You're in your late 50s. You can go out and have a good time. You could be a cougar, He being, I don't know what they call men, a DILF. Like, you could be a MILF. You with Morgan? If you don't want to be with Morgan, find you a cute little boy to be with. Like Kyle is acting like she can't live her life. And that's what's so annoying, when it's like, we saw you living your life last season. Continue to live. You girl, live on. You about to be an empty nester. You could walk around your house naked, invite people over, have a good time. Like, stop acting like this. Stand up. Oh, girl. For the ladies to go to St. Lucia, they're all on like different flights. Kathy and I think it was Kathy, Dorit, and I thought Garcelle. No, it was Dorit and Kathy who took a flight earlier to get to Miami. It was funny when Kathy was like, girl, Dorit, we're not going to New York, because she had on this big trench coat, but airports be cold, so I understood. The rest of the women are still in LA catching a red eye to get to Miami, but while they're there, Jennifer Tilly pulls out this vintage Hermes jewelry box, and when I tell you, Erica is salivating like the dogs from that Pavlovian like study. The moment she saw that box, she started touching it, and she's like, oh my gosh, that's like some Hollywood stuff right there. I said, Erica, pick your mouth up, girl, pick it up. So Bose is so excited for this trip. She was like, it's about to be amazing. It's about to be great. Like, I got things planned, dinners, things, excursions. Like, we're gonna have a good time. And St. Lucia is beautiful. I need to go there for vacation at least once. I've never been, but I think it's such a beautiful place. So they're greeted with, concierge service and all that stuff. They got drinks on hand. Everyone's villa is nice. The only thing that I feel like is messed up is the room assignments for Jennifer Tilly and Garcelle and Sutton. Like, everybody else doesn't have to share a room, but Jennifer Tilly and Sutton have to. And I'm just kind of like, we too old for that. Like, you stop sharing rooms with people. It's especially when you got money in your 20s, like your late 20s. I feel like y'all are in this nice villa. Y'all couldn't find one that was like 3 rooms or something. But the villas are nice. They have beautiful views. They all have pools attached to them. Like, it's a vibe. It's totally a vibe. So we end up seeing 2 conversations happening at once. So Dorit, Erica, and Bose. We also find out Dorit and Erica are celebrating their birthdays. So they're happy to be in their villa. And we see Sutton, Garcelle, and Jennifer Tilly in their villa, and they're talking. And Sutton says, she been kind of getting some weird vibes from Dorit. And Jennifer Tilly said, well, girl, the last time y'all saw each other, y'all was at odds with each other at my party. Caviars and caftans, girl. You need to pick them up on somebody whose wallet fits. Have I ever called you a bitch in your home? No, I should have called you an effing bitch. Okay, so it's just like, y'all were not in a good place. So what are you expecting? So Garcelle is noticing how bugged out Sutton's eyes are getting, and she was like, oh, it's coming, it's coming. But I think what threw Garcelle off is that Sutton got emotional. She started crying a little bit. So then we go to Dorit, Erica, and Bose, and Dorit's like, I just want to have fun. You know, I haven't really talked to Sutton, but I know when she's going to be volatile and when her wrath is coming. But right now she's walking around like, oh, I've been a bad girl. And I said, oh my gosh. They laugh at her mimicking Sutton. And then Sutton just says, you know, forgiveness factor in this group seems to be so easy for other people like Kyle and Dorit, but not for me. It's like I'm always held to a different standard. And then Garcelle Wells says maybe it's the same thing with me and you. Like, we forgive each other very easily. And then Jennifer Tilly talks where she's like, you know, as a newcomer, this group is very cliquish. You know, she's like, when I grew up in the 60s. I was an outcast. Like, I was the weird girl. I had hand-me-downs. You know, I didn't take baths all the time. I said, girl. She said, I probably shouldn't have said that. You know, I was always trying to fit in with the popular kids, but they never were interested in me. And she said, you know, I think I had this idea that, like, when I got into this group, we were really going to be like a group, like doing sleepovers, painting each other's nails, like really bonding. And that's not the case. And it's been kind of hard to get in a group that is this clicked out. Sutton is getting emotional, and she basically just says, you know, I've had a tough road with this group, and it's like no matter what I do, I can never get these women to like me. She was like, the only person that has ever really defended me has been Garcelle. Even when it boils down to Kyle, she'll always say, you two stop it. It's never like, no, Dorit, like chill off or lay off of her. And she's just like, it's just been tough, you know, and she starts to cry. And she was like, I want them to like me, but I can't get them to like me. So then this Garcelle says in her confessional, that's the $1 million question, why Sutton cares so much about Kyle's opinion and defends Kyle when Kyle doesn't do the same thing for her. Like, I really don't get it. I don't know. So then the screen goes black and it's like 24 hours later, and we see them on a yacht together, and Dorit and Erica are pretty much ganging up on Sutton. Dorit is basically saying something about like, you get to do things to people, but when we react, it's a problem. And then Erica's like, you have this thing of where you present yourself as a friend, but then you do the opposite. So then Sutton is telling them, like, what the F do y'all want from me? Like, what do y'all want? And they're like, oh. And I'm like, well, yeah, what do y'all want from her? Because y'all keep telling her the same thing, but y'all have not given her any, like, evidence of being like, well, this is how I want you to change, or this is what I want you to do. You just keep pointing it out and acting like y'all haven't done the same thing to her. Like, y'all pick it. Well, maybe they haven't. They've always kind of had a disdain for Sutton, but Sutton has always trying to be like nice to them, but they've never been nice to her for real. And maybe that's the issue for Sutton. Like, girl, stop being nice. And I'm not gonna lie, I felt bad for Sutton. Do I think Sutton is a victim? No, but I think her feelings are valid when it comes to this group. And like I've said before in this video, Sutton has done things where she put her foot in her mouth and she's rubbed people the wrong way, and she should be called out about it. But we're not going to act like this group has given her grace. The same grace they tell Sutton to give them, they don't give to her, you know? And it's interesting because I've been where Sutton has been, where you're trying to make friends with people, you're trying to like extend yourself, get to know people, get out of your comfort zone, and people show you that like they like you, but they don't like you enough to have that type of relationship with you, i.e. a friendship. And it's a hard pill to swallow because nobody's friendship is guaranteed, and it's not like, it's not required for them to make friends with you just because you're nice to them. Some people just don't want to be cool with you, and it could be other factors, and you could have done nothing wrong. You're just not their cup of tea. And I hope after this season, when they go to season 15, if Sutton is asked back, I really do hope that she just focuses on the people that do like her, like Jennifer Tilly, like Garcelle, somewhat like Kyle, and move on for that. Stop trying to be cool with Erica. Stop trying to be cool with Dorit. Stop. Like, I wouldn't even take the time to get to know Bose because it's clear she don't want to be cool with you, but I would not try to be friends with certain people that don't want to be friends with me. And it's hard because it's like we've all been taught that if you're kind towards people and y'all find some type of common ground, you're supposed to automatically like bond or have a friendship. But as you get older, you realize that's not the case. And I think based off of Sutton and the way that she was raised with a mom that, like, you can tell that she has been trying her whole entire life to impress her mom to like her, that I think that's why she keeps trying with Kyle, is because she wants Kyle to like her, because Kyle has something or represents something to her, and she wants that approval. But it's also like, girl, you in your 50s. I think Sutton is like 53. At this point, you not getting it. So I would move on with my life and just accept it for what it is and really just focus on the people that care about me. But it is what it is. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic and definitely hop down in them comments below. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.